Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
On this episode of the History of the Course podcast with Curtis and Josh, we take a look at the band from across the ocean in Perugia, Italy, known as Fleshgod Apocalypse. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurviveByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurviveByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Bow your head before your king, as I'm the bringer of light, the chosen one amongst all men, the Lord of Master and Light.
But who decided it all?
Shut up, you servant! Respect divine right, for I belong to the elite of mankind, enlightened guardian of justice and right. My word is law, or it's eye for an eye. Yeah. Welcome back to the History of the Cores podcast, sponsored by the Church of the Seven Track, where each and every episode we are taking a look at a band from the core, a genre. I'm Curtis. With me, as always, is my co-host Josh. Josh, would you like to tell people your little faux pas coming into this episode, or?
Well, I thought we were doing our episode today over the first few albums of Ghost Inside. So, but that's not for a few weeks. So,
No.
yeah. But luckily, I do like Fleshgod a lot. I think I
Yeah.
was probably the one who introduced you to them.
Yeah, I mean, this is your band. You're the one that picked them to do it,
Yeah.
to cover it. So,
So at least it's
Um,
not something I'm completely unfamiliar
right.
with.
And that's kind of what I was hinting at earlier when we first got on, and you're like, I was like, well, I mean, at least he has knowledge of these albums and such. So,
Yeah, it's just nice to
better
have
than be
more
like,
of
I've
like
never heard this band before.
yeah, but usually it's like all, most of what I've been listening to for the weekend.
Right. Yeah.
So
You're at least in that headspace, but
yeah.
yeah. So he spent
I
the
gotta
last
I gotta
30 minutes
shift
trying to get
gears
through it.
now.
He's like,
Yeah.
crap.
Gotta shift gears now. You weren't sure if this was Cores or After Hours. I could feel it. I
What?
could feel the uncertainty.
I have no clue what you're talking
The
about, Eric. I mean,
brief
Josh.
second pause where you had to think about it
Oh,
for
are you
a
talking
sec.
about in the intro here?
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what that was. I had about 3 windows pulled up here and I couldn't get my notes back up to like look at the actual script to say what I wanted to
Oh,
say.
gotcha.
And so I'm like, 2 things going on at once. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Just get this. Okay. Pause for dramatic effect. Yeah.
It
No.
felt like
Hey, hold on. Me. Okay, we are. This is course. Okay, this is regular. Okay, we're good. We're good. I think. I hope Eric isn't waiting for me. He's just on the other and be like,
just
thought we
sitting
were
over there
recording
waiting
tonight,
for that
man."
email.
Right. Hey, Josh, speaking of after hours, a couple weeks ago, we had a brand new episode of the History of the Cores After Hours podcast. Wow! All about a little band from Arkansas known as the Handshake Murderers. Here is a quick little preview for you right here, right now.
I think the early EPs do have that southern blue collar rough goodness we like. That's literally what I wrote. And it's literally what you just said. So, I mean, I think we're on the same page on that. Only word I could really think of difference between like the early stuff and say some of the later ones is breathiness.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the album, the later 3 are less breathy than the
Right.
early stuff. And I think that attributes it to being a little more raw, being a little more breathy,
Right.
a little more oomph to it. And that maybe because he was a heavy chain smoker.
He's
He's got less breath to push. I don't know, but that's
Yeah,
the kind of sound I was hearing is just there's a little less breathiness to it,
right.
less, expended energy or something.
You know it's
But
bad when it's like you're smoking the cigarette all the way up until like that first note hits. You put it out, and I mean, the moment that you get done with your vocals is like light it up again. Like here we go. It's like I'm surprised the guy didn't smoke during the set. To be honest with you, just cigarette in one hand, microphone in the other. Like, "Ugh." And we're back. Yep.
All I
Yep.
gotta say about that
Uh,
is bum 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 ba da bum ba da bum bum ba da da.
Oh, yo. It's almost like he's struggling with that too. He's like,
Oh yeah, he's in pain. He's in
but
constant pain.
well, I mean, it's kind of like what me and Eric talked about, and you and I talked about it too in the original. It's like with as much as that guy smoked the time you're seeing him, his vocal style makes sense now.
Yeah, and
It makes a lot of sense.
it was the dark ages. It was the stupid ages of those kind of
I
vocals,
just
you
do it.
know.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that's
we
true.
talked about it a million times.
They're
Everybody
all
was
care to the
just
wind, man.
on the fast track to destroying uh their
Their
vocals.
vocals.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If you want the full episode of that, go check that out on whatever podcast service you're using or YouTube. Alrighty, Josh, you kind of teased it earlier before we got on here. Now I'm curious.
Oh,
Besides Ghost Inside, because that's a given now. What did you listen to this week?
well, there were so I kept getting alerts about different bands that were like dropping albums the last few
Oh,
days.
really? Okay.
Yeah, and then one of them I think was a month or two ago. I'm not sure how long that one's been out, but it was definitely this year. And that same one, you guys were talking about that band on After Hours, and it made me think of it. And so I was like, oh, I gotta listen to that song. And then when I went to, it was like, whoa, new album just out. So, okay. So I'm gonna start with over here. It's on my right. I don't know if I have which way I have this facing.
Black Keys?
Yeah, the Black Keys, the
Okay.
new Black Keys
Yeah.
album. What was the last album of theirs you listened to?
Oh man, I'd say whatever. I'd have to pull it up on Spotify, but I would say probably mid 2000 teens. Um,
Did you listen to?
it's
You didn't listen to Let's Rock?
let me see. Let me look at what's their band name? Black Keys.
Oh my
Dude, I
God.
totally went blank there for a second. I had to go back and look at your your picture. What was the one? Let's Rock. Oh no, I haven't seen that one. I guess El Camino was the last one. Man, I graduated high school that year. Wow. That's how long ago that was. Because
Okay.
I don't remember this. Oh, I at least remember the song Fever off of Turn Blue, but I don't think I listened to the whole album. I think El Camino was the last one that I listened to. That or
Okay.
Brothers, which Brothers was 2010.
Yeah.
Well, they
Those are
must have
definitely
had
their two biggest albums.
yeah, they must have had a lot of songs in the chamber to come out with two albums that quick, back to back.
Well, I'll get there.
Okay.
So it starts to take a shift around Let's Rock, where it's still that bluesy style that they had before, but it does kind of get a little bit more poppy. And they start to do some features like a little further down the line that
Mm,
seem pretty messed up. There's one in Ohio Players with Beck and Juicy J, and I
yeah,
gotta
I
tell
see
you,
that.
the Juicy J lines just feel so out of place. It's on Paper Crown, I think.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I'm looking at
Um,
the album right now.
but I did like Let's Rock. So I never listened to Delta Cream or Dropout Boogie, but based on Ohio players, I mean, there's only so many blues riffs, you know?
Right.
Like it kind of seems like they're just starting to recycle a little bit. Like I feel like some of the songs I'm hearing a lot of the same things I was hearing on Brothers or El Camino.
Right.
So I
Mm.
don't know. I gave it a chance though. Like I wanted to listen to it all the way through, and I didn't hate it. It's definitely listenable, but I just wonder how much they've got left in the chamber. I could see them putting out another couple of albums because they've done all these in pretty quick succession. You know, only like two
Well,
years apart.
yeah, I was thinking, didn't they didn't they like the like the album artwork for Dropout Boogie. That's kind of funny. Um
Yeah.
didn't they go on like hiatus like in the mid 2000 and teens? I guess they would have to have 2014 to 2019, maybe in that time. Because I was thinking like they both were doing their own thing, like side
Okay.
projects or something like that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though.
Yeah.
Kind of
So
interested. Go
I
ahead.
saw that came out. I was like, I'll give it a shot. I was like, I like the Black Keys. We'll see what's going on here.
Kind of interested about the color scheme there on Joffrey Cowboy.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're all in. This is full like Rings of Saturn, late Born of Osiris type art.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
Musically though. Oh, sorry.
um
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
you guys were talking about Suspended by the Throat.
Mm. He
And so
loves Suspended by the Throat.
that's a great song. Uh yeah, that's what made me think about it. And I was like, oh man, that is a good song. And I was like, I haven't listened to Doom in a while. So I went over there and then I got completely sidetracked by this. It was like, whoa.
What?
So you probably haven't listened to one of theirs since Genesis, right?
Genesis was the last one.
Okay.
Because that'd be about the time that was kind of like, okay, I'm switching gears musically, you know.
Okay.
Nice. I like their on Spotify, like their like banner is it's Moon Healer album artwork, which is the one that's behind you, but it's like a skull. He's got like he's super wide-eyed and he's got
Yeah.
flames coming out of his mouth. But
Well,
yeah,
that's the
it's funny.
part that's like next to that. Like I
Oh, okay.
moved, yeah, I moved it so that the
Oh, okay,
job
I
for a
see
cowboy
it.
part was
Yeah.
like in the middle, but it's like right
Yeah.
here in the main picture.
Right. Okay, yeah, I see it now.
I have been kind of in and out on them over the years.
Hmm.
Obviously Doom and Genesis, awesome albums. Um, Ruination was one that kind of got by me. I just, I think I've heard a couple of songs off it, but I was just never like, blown away by it like I was
Right.
with the first two. Gloom is interesting. It's short, it's just a little EP. Um, and then Demonocracy. Demonocracy was pretty solid. Um, yeah, there's a lot more tracks that stand out on that one. And then Sun Eater is where things kind of start to change for me because Sun Eater's a really good album, and what I've listened to of Moon Healer was also really good, but they're pretty much against breakdowns now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and to me, in that kind of genre, I feel like you shouldn't shun a breakdown. Like they should just come more organically when you're trying not to use them all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So it is kind of annoying that they don't. In Sun Eater, it's hilarious. There's like a token, like 3 second like breakdown that it just gives you like a taste of it's like, oh, and here's the breakdown. It's like, and nope, we're not doing that. So yeah, but
Nice.
it's pretty
Psych.
good. And it's a pretty sick part in the song. It just leaves you wanting more so bad. I don't know if a
Right.
song has ever
And
left me
that's the
more
goal.
wanting because it's
Right.
just like a snippet. And then they're like, nope,
Mhm.
and on with the rest of the album. You're not going to hear that again.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but Moon Healer is really cool. I do like the way they did these last two albums together, Sun Eater and Moon Healer. Thought that was kind of neat. I don't want to spend forever on this, so I'll kind of get through these next two.
Well, I am curious about Bayside because I just realized the other day that they dropped a new album. I haven't listened to, let's see,
well,
I
I
didn't,
was gonna ask you if you had listened to any of their more recent albums.
the last album that I listened to, I believe was Vacancy. Was it? No. I think I skipped over that one. Maybe it was,
See, Killing Time was the
I
last
can't, yeah, I want
album
to, it
of
was,
theirs that
I either skipped Vacancy, which was 2016, and listened to In Terra Bang, which is their last one, or I listened to Vacancy all the way through, but then didn't listen to In Terra. It's one or the other. I can't remember though.
okay.
But yeah, when Killing Time finished, when we got through that one, um, of course, I mean, you're talking about 2011 to 2016. They really kind of, I want to say they may have gone on hiatus too, but that was one of those bands too that's just like you kind of forgot about them. And I really wasn't a huge fan of Killing Time. It started kind of getting like repetitive and like like they kind of have a pattern in their songs, it seems like a lot of times, you know?
Bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum 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 bum.
Well, I remember, man, I don't know if you ever heard this, but I heard a lot of people talk about this one. Yeah. A lot of people were wondering about if they had ripped off A Day to Remember on Killing Time. That very first song, Already Gone. Um, dang, now I gotta pull up A Day to Remember. I just remember people talking about,
I know that riff. It's like the da na
yeah,
na 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 na
yeah.
na
A
na
lot of
na.
people
Yeah.
wondered if they ripped off because that Killing Time came out a year after, and I think it's All I Want off of What Separates Me from You. And being on the same label too, and everybody was kind of like, I don't know if I like that, man. But anyway, yeah, I just realized the other day that they dropped out a new album, so I'm curious to hear what you thought. Ooh, I don't know. Oh, I think you're on mute, by the way. I don't. I
I
just now pulled up the track list. I don't know if I like to see a feature by Ice Nine Kills though on a Bayside album.
what
Like,
track is
okay.
that?
The fourth one, How to Ruin Everything. Patience.
I don't know if I noticed that. Hmm. What a Day to Remember song was it supposed to be?
Do what?
What a Day to Remember song was it supposed to be ripping off?
All I want on What
Oh,
Separates Me from
yeah.
You is that riff that
The opening one?
yeah. They just kind of sound similar. And a lot of I just remember, I'm not saying that they did. I'm just saying I just remember a lot of people being like, copycats. But
I was listening to the Downbeat podcast yesterday, and they were talking to two of the guys from Currents,
mm,
and they're also in I'll
do
remember here in a
do
minute.
do.
They're in another band that's pretty big. But
Another man.
they were talking about like stuff that's like unintentionally like kind of
Right.
ripped off from other people, and he was talking about how there's only a certain number of like different kind of breakdowns like that you can do, like eventually they're going to overlap.
For sure, yeah.
And they were talking about how each one of them, because the guy that does it, he's the drummer from Stray from the Path,
Mm.
and like both of them had one song that they were like, oh yeah, and then we realized later that that was like a straight up like line for line version of like somebody else's. You know, like the album comes out and we're just like, oh shit.
Right.
But yeah, I
Oops.
don't know. It doesn't seem that close to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just remember people talking about it. But I just feel like with Killing Time, there were some good songs on there, but it started like going downhill a little bit for me. And I'm like, eh. Of course, I was a big fan of let me get back to it here. Of course, their self-titled album, that was their big break. And then Walking Wounded is probably my favorite. And Shutter is like a close second. And Shutter came right before Killing Time. So, I mean, coming off the heels of an album like Shutter for me, it just didn't hit as good, Killing Time. But
Okay.
anyway, forget old Bayside. What about new Bayside?
I liked what I've heard so far.
Okay.
Um, Kind of in the same vein as the Black Keys, though, where you got to wonder, like, how
How
many
much
more of these
time?
are we gonna pump out because they are all starting to sound kind of the same.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and it's not, I feel like sometimes when I don't speak super highly of something, that it feels like I'm just dogging on it, and it's not bad,
No.
but it's just, you know, when you're using the same formula, like you run out eventually.
Right. You're just here. You're just telling us what you're hearing. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is. I mean, so
Curtis,
yes.
this band,
Yes, I'm
have
looking them
you
up as I speak.
have you heard the good news about My Hands to War?
I don't think so.
Okay.
How long have they been
Um,
around here?
they have been
Oh,
around a
they're
few
pretty
years.
new. Okay, well, they're
They,
still
yeah,
newish.
they're
Okay.
pretty new, but they have had kind of a weird go so far.
Okay.
So they do have an EP and they've released a couple of music videos, I think. Um, they have I came across them originally several years ago because they were doing a local show, like just in their local scene before they were like known at all.
Mhm.
And it was a Every Time I Die tribute show. And they
Interesting.
played their
Oh, okay.
entire set was all Every Time I Die songs. And they covered them amazingly. Like he did a great like Keith Buckley. It was solid.
Right.
They dressed up as them too, so
Nice.
that was pretty. But yeah, that's how I first came across them and got really into them. And then yeah, they've kind of had an up and down. I can't remember if one of the guys ended up having some kind of illness or something. I can't remember, but they had kind of a little bit of I don't want to say hiatus period because they were like working, like they're working on this album that just came out a couple
Right.
days ago. But yeah, so I listened to most of this today and feeling pretty good about it so far. I could see like they just like got their shit together too. So I could see them going on and like here in a few years, like them being a lot bigger name.
Yeah.
Like they have a really huge local following. Like they are beloved where they're from, but
Dude, first song that I clicked on, sick riff. Sin was given wings. I was like, oh, and then he comes in with those gnarly raw vocals.
yep.
Ugh, a man after my own heart.
Yeah, he's got great vocals. And then at least one or two of the other guys also like contribute some backing stuff.
Okay.
They've got really good clean vocals too. Like I think if they keep pursuing this, they're gonna be a pretty big deal here in a few years. So
Interesting. Hmm. Just from a little bit of sample I'm hearing, I could see him imitating Keith pretty good.
Yeah.
Buckley. Alrighty, nice, Josh. Very nice. I gave you, I mean, yeah, you take as much time as you wanted there because I was on a podcast spree this week, so
Oh, so nothing.
so nothing. So you had, yeah, you had plenty of time there, buddy.
Nothing but cereal for you.
Dry cereal, not even any milk. Was it
I meant cereal
I
the podcast.
oh, cereal the podcast? What's
Yeah.
cereal the podcast?
It's like one of the biggest like I think true crime ones or something.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Are you a true crime podcast?
No, not my cup.
Oh, yeah,
I don't like
not
any of
really.
that stuff, dude. I don't like Law and Order. I don't like anything that's like
Gung, gung.
reality based. I'm like, oh, just go outside if I want to see that kind of shit.
True. Bum 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 dun, dun, dun.
It does have a sick theme song
Nice.
though.
Okay, anyway. Uh all right, Josh, you ready? You ready to get symphonic?
Oh, I'm ready.
Click. Should have rented some tuxedos for this. Just for this
Yeah.
occasion.
Well, they have to be like Victorian tuxedos,
Right.
though.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta
Go to
look
the
like we just
costume
stepped out
shop.
of a time machine.
Alrighty, Josh. Today we are taking a look at the band known as Fleshgod Apocalypse. I think I told you before. I don't know why. But when I say that name to myself, I always think of just like a convention center ad. This Sunday at the convention center. I don't know why.
This Sunday and Saturday. Fleshgod Apocalypse.
Right.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. and
I
Saturday.
seriously have no reason for it to be that way, but that was the first thing that popped in my head when we were like, hey, we're gonna do Fleshgod Apocalypse. Okay. Fleshgod Apocalypse. Oh. Bring the
Okay.
children. Anyway. Alrighty, Josh. They are categorized in the genre of symphonic death metal and technical death metal. Chef's kiss. Couple of questions for you, Josh. One, overall, what does it for you?
It's a combination of a lot of things.
Okay.
And I feel like it's probably a good time to say like how I first came across them.
Yeah, go for it.
Because seeing these guys in front of me on the stage getting ready for the show
Like, what the hell?
and the amount of time that it took them to get set up for their set, I was like, these guys can't be for real. Like they look kind of ridiculous. They're taking forever, the longest I've ever seen anyone take to set up in between.
I was about to say,
bands.
what was their attire? What year was this, first off?
They were only playing like Mafia and Oracle stuff.
Okay,
So
2010, 11-ish. Okay, so what was their attire? Because you said something about their attire. What were they wearing at that time? Were they already full-blown symphonic looking?
yes.
Victorian
And,
symphonic?
like less diversity. So like now I feel like they kind of there might be like some differing stuff between them. It's
Right,
all a
yeah.
similar theme, but then it was they were all wearing the exact
same.
same Victorian tuxedo thing.
Right.
And all had on like the same like black makeup and so yeah. But I don't know, they were opening up for the Faceless. And when you see a band like kind of out of context like this, when they're not playing with other bands like that, I feel like it makes you stand out. And I feel like you gotta prove something to me then,
Yeah, it's go big or go home at that point, right?
Yeah.
And Italy's pretty far from Oklahoma.
So they got set up and everything, and I've never heard of this band. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this. They're only a 4-piece
Right.
at
that
this
time,
time.
yeah.
So but they Well, okay, I'll say this too, because I've never had this happen either at a show. They took so long to do their setup that everybody started booing. Like
Oh,
people were
yeah.
booing for them to like get
Uh,
on with it. Nobody knows who this band is. Nobody's ever heard of them, you know? And it was like very evident. Like people were just like, who the hell are these guys?
right.
But so I can't remember which one of them. I think maybe the bassist came over the mic and just kind of shamed everybody for a minute. It was like, hey, like we're doing this so we can get like the best sound possible, you know. It's like we're doing this like for you guys so that you get the best experience out of it. And I feel like people were still just kind of like meh. But they were
Boo.
asking, the thing was, man, was they were asking for the weirdest stuff. Like, when you do your sound check and your setup, you might ask, if you're the bassist, you might ask to hear the kick drum, like
Right.
in your uh uh
Earpiece
yeah, or your speaker.
or your
Like,
speaker over there.
because a
Yeah.
lot of times there's just like, you know, they're not always up there with earpieces in a
Right. Right.
small
Right. Right. Yeah.
venue
Yeah.
setting. Yeah. So we might just have like that one output set up to him so we could hear the bass drum more.
Right.
And they were asking for a bunch of really weird things that, like, to me didn't make any sense, you know? But they finally get started and it blew my freaking mind, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure they played Through Our Scars as the first song that they played. It was either
Hmm.
that or Blinded by Fear, but I was just like, whoa. And it was noticeable in the room. Like, people were looking around at each other, like, what the hell am I hearing? Like, this is insane.
Nice.
So, there's a lot of elements that I think drew me in right from the get-go, and it's the fact that all four members and eventually six members are all doing vocals.
Mm.
There's a
It's a
lot of
collective
weird,
effort overall. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of weird harmonizing going on. There's a lot of cool screams that are being echoed, like a line that's being done by the lead vocalist and guitarist, and then it's echoed by both the bassist and the rhythm guitarist in unison. So
Right.
just a lot of cool stuff like that. Plus they're crazy good. Like they're so technical and so on top of everything.
Right. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, there's just a lot of it's the thematic elements you were talking about later on where we're adding more orchestra to it. It just
I
becomes more
need
and more of like this
more didgeridoos.
crazy production.
Right. Yeah, they go full blown Dewey Cox on us.
Yeah.
Goats and yeah.
Yeah, but
That
I'm
goat's got
feeling it.
more lines than I have.
I think you prefer kind of the later era and that sound. I
Right.
like a little bit more of the
Early.
earlier stuff. So,
Cool. Let's dive on in, Josh. Formed in Oh wait, I forgot. Disclaimer.
oh, thank
We're
God.
we're not Italian. We're just simple folks. We're just two simple guys from America trying our hardest, right? Yeah. Yeah. So go easy on us with the pronunciation
Oh,
because
it's gonna be rough.
this is gonna be rough. So let's do it. Formed in Perugia, Italy in April 2007 by Francesco Pali, Cristiano Triodafera, Paolo Rossi, and Francesco Truglia. Hey,
Sounds good to me.
good enough. Quickly, the quartet would record a two-song demo entitled Promo '07 with producer Stefano Sol Morabito, showcasing their songs Embodied Deception and Infection of the White Throne. Now, a year later, in a collaborative effort with three other fellow Italian bands, Septical, Gorge, Modus Delecti, and Enrique, Fleshgod would re-release their two demo songs on a split EP entitled The Da Vinci Death Code split EP through a small label, Ripper Tattoo Productions. Have you ever seen? I think I've seen one time where 3 bands do a split EP. Have you ever seen 4 do a split EP?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. It's pretty gnarly. I don't know.
That's just called like a Taste of Chaos tour.
Yeah, let's say that's what you call a sampler
Yeah.
from a record label.
Yeah.
It's the, otherwise known as the Ripper Tattoo Productions sampler. Summer 07 or 08 or whatever. In 2008, while preparing for their debut full-length album, the band would tour across Europe with notable bands such as Behemoth, Origin, Dying Fetus, Hate Eternal, Suffocation, Napalm Death, and many others. Before recording would commence, drummer Francesco Truglia would leave the band. In his place, the group recruited Mauro Mercurio to record drums on the album and tour thereafter. Now, at this time, Francesco Farini would also join the recording sessions to contribute parts on piano, strings, and other instruments. Remember that name, Josh. He will come in handy later on in the discography. Yeah. All right, let's talk about their debut album, Josh. 2009 Oracles from Candlelight and Willowtip Records. Produced by Stefano Morabito, this is the first album to showcase Francesco Paoli on lead vocals. He later opted to step down from the position until returning to the position on their 5th album, Veleno, and beyond. And beyond. By the way, do you know you still have
So
your
question mark?
question
yep.
mark? What's the question mark about?
What you said that he was their vocalist or whatever
Right.
from that point on, and I said till question mark.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Future. Corey from lambgoats.com wrote in his review of the debut album, Francesco, we're just going to say first names from now on, of
Sounds
Hour of
fantastic.
Penance. Francesco of Hour of Penance fronts this tech death group, and fans of that band's brand of relentless and punishing metal should find as much or more to enjoy on Fleshgod Apocalypse's debut full-length. The drumming rarely lets up its breakneck pace. Amen. The guitar riffs are so good. Yes. I found myself humming them in the shower. Weird. The solos frequently call to mind Guitar Hero's Eddie Van Halen, or I'm not even going to try to say that name. The whole thing is recorded well and mixed perfectly. Even the never-ending story-gone apocalyptic artwork and tongue-in-cheek tuxedo photos are pitch-perfect representations of the album and band, respectively. Everything begins with a few seconds of orchestral warm-up before the scathing album opener, In Honor of Reason. A few seconds at the beginning, a 10-second interlude towards the end, and a few lines backed by a barely audible opera singer. If you like death metal, but for some reason tuned out when the word classical got thrown out there, you can rest assured the band incorporates this stuff sparingly throughout the album. Standout second track, Post-Enlightenment Executor, avoids the flourishes altogether. When the orchestral and operatic bits do appear, they never feel forced or out of place. As Tyrant's Fall contains both the band's most successful genre-bending moment during its final solo and one of its least in the interlude that follows. On repeat listens, even this one slightly less cohesive moment serves to break up what might otherwise have been an overwhelming listen. The disc keeps up the pace and the quality throughout, consistently displaying the remarkable talents of all the band's members, particularly on centerpieces Requiem in S.J. Manure, and At the Guillotine. Bottom line, Fleshgod Apocalypse's debut album is easily one of the most memorable and remarkable metal albums of early 2009. Fans of extreme death metal looking for an accomplished band with a flair for theatrics and a knack with melodies should embrace these guys with open arms. Bring it in. Come on. Come on.
Get in here for
Yeah,
a
you
big
wanna-
old kiss, Flesh God.
Oh my gosh. Ugh. Songs. Oh God. That one really caught me off guard. Songs on this album include In Honor of Reason, Post Enlightenment Executor, As Tyrants Fall, Sophistic Demise, Requiem in Simur, All the Guillotine, at the Guillotine, Embodied Deception, Infection of the White Throne, Retrieving My Carcass, and the finale, Oracles. All right, Josh, debut album. How'd they do? Because we talked about it. What was the phrase we used? Um, oh man, what was the phrase we used? This is our what did we say? Figure it out album. This is our figure it out album.
Yeah.
Something like that. But you made mention of it's like we said, like percentage wise, 90 to 95% way better production value for a figuring it out album than most of the 90 to 95% of people in this genre, I think is what we were saying.
Yeah. But you could
So-
probably even say overall, because most figure it out albums sound like they were recorded in the basement,
Yeah, that's true.
which I don't mind. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
when you
it has
come
its time
out,
and place.
yeah, when you come out this hard and this already, like, you have your shit together this well, like, it's a good sign.
Well, and my thing too is like with something on the symphonic side, with the some symphonic death metal, it's like you have to have good production. It can't be we're doing this in the basement. You just can't do that.
Right, because it
Because
would sound so
it's gotta
garbled
come
and
clean.
washed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotta come clean, man.
Yeah.
So because again, it's the somatic, it's the professional, sound. So
What does this album cover make you think of?
the never ending story.
A never-ending story.
Yeah, like the guy said in his deal. Yeah, I didn't even think about that until I was reading the review when I was making my notes. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that does look like the never ending story.
Yeah, the Sphinx's.
The Sphinx's eyes are opening. Oh my God, he made it. I
Terrible.
was sweating. I was sweating so
Terrible.
bad, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, when you're a grown, 30-year-old adult, you're kind of like, this is garbage.
Terrible.
I'm starting to root for the Sphinx. Come on, Sphinx, kill him.
What the hell was her name? What was her name?
Give her a name. Anyway, debut album. Yeah, never ending story. It does make me think of that though. I was going to say post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic. Never ending story.
Yeah, with them, I don't know. It always feels a little bit more fantastic or like based in myth or legend for a lot of their
Right.
stuff. We got Labyrinth, which, and then the Oracles has the two Sphinxes. Agony just has, I don't know what that is that's like attached to that dude that's holding him to the ground.
Ropes.
Oh, like chains and shit. Okay, cool.
That's all I get. Everything was just like chains and ropes. Oops. Yeah, that's all I get. Everything.
Yeah, that one's pretty sweet. And then just like the sky swirling around him.
Right. Yeah.
It looks
I
like,
always.
I almost want to say
It-
these are probably like whale bones and shit, because this looks like a dry ocean.
You talking on
Agony.
are you still talking about agony? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It always made me think of some other album cover, I felt like, but maybe not.
I don't want to talk about Velano.
Oh, yeah. There's some stuff going on there.
That is freaky.
You know what it makes me think of? It kind of makes me think of
I don't like the dead
Meridional.
elephant.
Almost makes me think of like Meridional, though.
Yeah,
Kind of
I
like the
forgot there's an
human coming
elephant in
out of
that.
it. Yeah, that's a good album cover.
And then King, it's just like that's just a king.
Yeah, but you know, with King, I didn't notice this until looking at it for like a second or third time. That he's got like puppet strings attached to him. I never noticed that.
Oh, yep,
Yeah, to him, like his crown, everything, man. I was like, oh, makes even more sense.
that's really
Anyway,
cool.
yeah. Do you feel though? I mean, there is the you're getting a slight hint of what you're going to see in the future with the orchestral stuff, the cinematic. But does it? I may mention to you is like it to me. It just kind of felt like again the whole deal of it's our figuring out album, but it just kind of feels straightforward technical death metal.
Yes.
So
Um, something too that they do in this one that I don't remember them doing in any of the other albums. On As Tyrants Fall, that weird little overture at the end of the song. It's like the
mhm,
last like minute and a half or so.
right.
It's like they don't do that ever again, I don't think.
No, and that's the other thing too, is I don't feel like they ever really repeat themselves. I mean, there's still like elements at times, but yeah, I don't feel like they ever really, what the heck?
Right, yeah, they're not using the same tricks and
Oh,
hooks
there
over
it
and
is.
over.
Right, yeah. Uh, but it is fun. Na, 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 na.
Well, it's
All right.
so the little overture is like so like it's not even because they might have a song that ends with some orchestral stuff that kind of goes off on
Right,
its own, you know?
right.
But that totally was just that sounded like
Like
ripped
a,
straight from like a ballet or something.
right. And to be honest, it may have been, man. May have been. It's in public domain. We can use it. All right, that's their debut album, 2009's We're Figuring It Out album, Oracles, from Candle, Light, and Willowtip Records. Drummer Amaro Mercurio would fulfill his duties in the studio and on the road, but would soon leave the band without a drummer. Now, here's where lead vocalist Francesco would quit his other band. There we go. Yeah. Would quit his other band, Hour of Penance, and transition into the role of drummer for Fleshgod as the group would recruit a new lead vocalist in Tommaso Riccardi. With the new lineup changes, the band would head back in.
Tommaso!
Tommaso. Mm. With the new lineup changes, the band would head back into the studio and record a 5-song EP in 2010 entitled Mafia EP. Mafia from Willowtip Records. Produced once again by Stefano Morabito. This is the first album for new vocalist slash guitarist Tommaso Riccardi. Transitioning more to the symphonic metal genre that the band would come to be known for. And in a review from metalarchives.com about the album, the writer states, quote, songs on Mafia tend to be long, but don't lose their meaning, intensity, and more importantly, they don't get stagnant. The drums are pummeling as you would expect from Fleshgod Apocalypse, fast enough to take your head off. Yeah. The riffs on Mafia border from the technical to the downright catchy. This is some of their most catchy riffs to date. The guitar tone is similar to Oracle's, but slightly thicker and more bludgeoning. Overall, these 3 songs seem to trump Oracle's, providing a variation where that album had lacked. Not to mention the riff and melody improvements, it's clear that Fleshgod Apocalypse improves on every release. It is also worth mentioning that Fleshgod's live sound is astounding and very similar to this EP's sound. Would you agree, Josh? Would you? Would you? Would you?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. If you love technical or brutal metal, this is for you. And if you love being bludgeoned and drowned by an octopus, visit the zoo. Hmm? Songs on this EP include Through Our Scars, Abyssal, Conspiracy of Silence, a At the Gates cover. This is the sad part. I'm having trouble with regular English words. At the Gates cover, Blinded by Fear, and an instrumental finale known as Mafia. And I feel like I can't remember, was Oracles the final song on Oracles, was it an instrumental track?
Yes,
I can't remember if that one was or not.
I think so.
That is kind of a calling card for them, is to always finish out with kind of that instrumental, kind of somber track. So I'll give them that.
Let me double check real quick. Yes,
Okay.
all piano.
That's what I was thinking about one for sure. What do you think about this EP, Josh, in terms of, new vocalist? You're starting to dive more into the symphonic side, so on and so forth.
I love this EP. They're getting deeper into what I love about Fleshgod, and it's those dual vocals.
Mhm.
I'll give you a great example here. Um, okay, so in Abysmal,
Mhm.
about halfway through, there's a lot of back and forth through there, but a part that's going to be a prime example here, the line, our primal right is denied, erase their rule, the right inside of you. So our primal right denied is done by Tomas, then erase their rule is done by somebody else, and then the right inside of you is done by all three of them, like together. So I don't know if you can, if you're at that part right now. It's
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
should be like a minute 10 or so. But
Yeah.
yeah, just the way they do that with one
Well,
here, one here,
even
one here, all of us.
right. I was gonna say, you go a little bit further, 2 minutes into it, and they repeat that line. They add something else to it too. It says, "Our primal right is denied. Erase their rule, the right inside of you." Now they do. It's like it's Tommaso on that first line, and then erase their rule is somebody else by themselves, and then that they all come in on the right inside of you, like they did the first time.
Okay.
And then we have a speech. Commence the speech.
Yeah, I love that how
Yeah.
you can hear like the one and then three and then one and then three and then
Right.
two. It
Right.
was just crazy like to watch that too. I was like never seeing anybody do vocals like that.
Right.
Yeah, and dude, I actually love these little like things he does because he has really good pipes. Their bassist, I can't remember his name. What was it?
Uh, I thought it was Francisco also. Ew. Let's see. I don't have it
The bassist has those little breaks that are where he does like clean vocals,
down.
but his register is just insane.
Where'd that go? Okay. Okay. Slide out of the. Oh, okay, Paulo Rossi.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the bassist. Cool.
Yeah,
That
the CP does it
is.
for me. This is
Does it?
I
He does it.
immediately got this after leaving the show.
Nice.
Actually, I might have bought this there.
Their merch.
Yeah, I think I did.
Did you have to give them American money, or did they?
Yes, they took
No, I'm
American money.
sorry. We only accept Italian money, but this is America. Not our problem. That is 2010's Mafia EP. Here we go. After release
Oh,
of their EP.
how do you feel about the cover?
EP? Oh,
Blinded
the
by
At the
Fear.
Gates. I mean, it's all right, I guess. What about you?
I like it. I think it's better than the original.
I don't think I've ever heard the original, so I've heard of the band At the Gates, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
think it's better than the original.
I thought you meant the album artwork when you said that. The cover, I was like, oh, the album artwork is
Oh no,
sick.
the album artwork is so sick. Yeah, freaking Kraken.
Right. Release the Kraken. All I can hear is Liam Neeson. Release the Kraken. I am the Kraken. I have a certain set of skills.
Oh God.
Uh,
Dude, the Kraken
after
is like the most terrifying
oh,
oceanic
are you kidding
entity to
me?
me.
Yeah.
Like the thought of gigantic, like megalodon type sharks and stuff out there is like horrifying enough. But because
What
every
about
now
the
and
low?
again they get like an actually like huge, just normal shark on camera, and
Right.
they're like, "Oh, this is a fucking 25-footer. It's the biggest one we've ever seen." You're just like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Why are
um,
you so chill about this?
yeah, but the Kraken is the most horrifying entity, dude. You almost never see like the face of the thing. It's only ever dark water and these just massive tentacles, you know?
What about the Leviathan?
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
The
But
name's just
they
good.
I think the stories about, if I remember right, the stories about like Krakens came from sailors who would see giant squid out
Right.
there. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how, yeah, I don't know how big some of those get, but they get pretty big. I don't know,
Oh, they
like,
get big.
yeah,
Oh, they get big. All right.
not like mythical Kraken size, I don't
No,
think,
no.
but
After release of their EP, touring would commence again across Europe, supporting Suffocation, along with a short stint in Russia. In response to their latest EP and the potential shown from the debut album, the band would sign with Nuclear Blast Records. It's only fitting to distribute their music worldwide. Okay, think I'm going to bring this up right now. This is off the topic of Fleshgod Apocalypse. I'm sorry, I got to do this because I've been meaning to say this to you, Josh, and I keep forgetting. And we brought it up on a recent After Hours episode,
yeah.
and I'm wondering maybe if you caught it or not. And now I got to get back and see if I can find. Okay,
Okay, keep talking to me.
Napalm Records, right? Napalm. Okay. You got on Napalm, you got bands like um you've got okay, let's see here. You got Austrian Death Machine, you've got let's see, Burning Witches, Conan, Cradle of Filth, um Defacing God, Crypt the Devil Driver, Dominum, Dragon Force. Let's see. I know there were some others. It was kind of like, okay, Camelot. There's a band called 1914. They dress up as like soldiers from like the First World War. Um, let's see. There's a lot of like overseas bands, kind of almost like death metal looking, kind of. Who else we got here? Nervosa, Nile. Let's see, Seven Dust. Silent Skies. I know there were some other ones I thought here. The Agonist, New Roses, Hell Freaks, Unleash the Archers. Eric's talked about them before. Walls of Jericho is with them. Year of the Goat, Wolfheart. Okay, so you get.
I
I'm
got the
painting the
picture.
picture, right? Okay. Can you, in the middle of all these bands, do you know what band is signed? What classic early 2000s band is signed with Napalm Records? Where'd they go?
I feel like I've seen this, but I don't remember who it is.
One Hoobastank.
That's right. That's right.
Hoobastank.
Yep.
From the people that brought you
I'm not
Uh,
sure which way to go.
what was the one big song?
I'm not a
The Reason.
perfect
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. They're on Napalm Records. Yeah. That shocked me. Anyway, back to regular programming. This has been Fun Facts with Curse and Josh. Up to this point, Francesco Farini, who played pianos and strings, was considered a session musician, but the band would decide to extend a full-time position his way to hone the symphonic sound they were working towards up to that point. With new material written in a major label to market it, the band was ready for their sophomore release, 2011's Agony from Nuclear Blast Records. Produced, once again, by Stefano Morabito. Agony Josh reached number 18 on the Billboard Top Heat Seekers chart. We got that brand new one from Fleshgod Apocalypse. A writer
Dear
from
Casey, will you please play The Imposition by Fleshgod Apocalypse?
A writer from metalunderground.com wrote a review on the album stating, quote, I never thought that I'd associate the words unfathomably heavy and opera before. But Fleshgod Apocalypse are just that. Heavy, brutal opera. I've always felt that symphonic metal bands like Camelot and Dimmu Borgir often sacrifice brutality to play around with keyboards and orchestras. Fleshgod Apocalypse completely avoid that stereotype, making symphonic brutal death metal that doesn't comprise when it comes to punching you in the face. Fleshgod Apocalypse packs equal amounts of awesome and amazing into every song. The riffs, solos, and drumming are all credibly competent. Yeah, okay. But it's when the band brings in a full opera with blast beats that really come into their own. Now, the Fleshgod Apocalypse are generic without the operatic vocals and orchestrations, but it's the sum of Fleshgod Apocalypse's parts that make Agony the masterpiece that it is. The best part is that the songwriting times change perfectly, which really works in the band's favor since they abstain from traditional pop song structures. I don't think that they have anything to do with pop songs, but anyway, this is an album where every song has something new to discover in it each time you listen to it, despite having a 50-minute length. While there are no standout tracks, that's mostly due to everything being so well crafted that everything is equally amazing. Sadly, many of the male clean vocals come out in a falsetto that sounds somewhat nasally and can come across as annoying, like me, even if they do fit the music. See, he agrees. The outro title track is not only out of place, but pointless filler that lacks atmosphere and emotion. These are still minor faults, given how good the rest of the album is, but they are noticeable flaws. Minor complaints aside, Agony is an album that should be heard by all fans of brutal death metal, symphonic metal, or avant-garde. It's an achievement that will hopefully bring Fleshgod Apocalypse into the elite of the death metal scene, since it's simply that good. Songs on this album include Temptation, The Hypocrisy, The Imposition, The Deceit, The Violation, The Egoism, The Betrayal, The Forsaking, The Oppression, and Agony. And hey, how about a bonus track, another cover, Josh? Heartwork from Carcass. What do you think, Josh, of 2011's Agony?
It's art, bitch.
Right. You just don't understand.
Yeah, Agony is definitely my favorite Fleshgod album, hands down. None of the others even come close for me.
Okay.
And they're all very good, but this one is just so much better for me. Yeah, it's before they're 100% all in. on were more symphonic than anything else, you know?
Right. Is this peak Fleshgod for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I remember when this album came out and I was just like, oh,
I'm gonna shy. I'm gonna shy.
yeah, freaking blown away. I was just listening to the end of The Deceit where it fades out and then comes back in with a ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum, bum,
Yes. Yep.
ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. So good. Yeah, the imposition, the deceit, the violation, the egoism, and the betrayal all run together so smoothly. You could even take the imposition out of there and just run deceit through betrayal, but I feel like most of this album just runs so smoothly together. You feel like you're just listening to kind of a story, you know, and just
Which is
changing
how it should
chapters.
be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for a band like this and then the genre that you're going for. It's like this should not be individual songs. This should be a full story from front to
Yeah.
back. So,
And I think
um,
that's evidence that like a lot of people agree with me because those are the most listened to songs on the album. Like
correct.
that
Yeah.
stretch.
Right.
So
Mm, that's
how do
good.
you
That's so
how do you
good.
feel about
Right into
Agony? I mean,
violation.
I
Ah,
know
that's
I
so good.
love Agony. How do you feel about Agony?
It's good. I mean, yeah, it's good. I wanted to ask you about because I do have one beef with Flesh God. I see. I don't. I the the reviewer said it too. I'm not a fan of the clean falsetto singing. I don't like it, dude. It's
Oh, you
kind
don't
of
like it?
it gets kind of on my nerves.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like stop it.
See, I respect it because like it takes an incredible amount of talent. And I saw him
Right,
do that live, so I know that he hits those notes, you know?
right. It's real. It's not just in the recording studio.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that then. Okay, I respect that.
Um,
It's just not me.
yeah, I mean it's different, but for me, it is another one of those elements like the piano and the strings and the opera. There's just like one
Right,
more thing that adds to the thematic element of it.
right. You know what they should have done?
What?
They should have recruited Anthony Green to sing high
Oh
parts because that
God.
dude can sing high parts. Could you imagine him singing in this band?
They're all dressed like that, and he's just dressed like Anthony
He's
Green.
like, "What's
Like,
up? What's up?" Oh man. Yeah. It's a good album. I'm with you on what you're saying of like it's kind of that sweet spot of we're about to go here, like full-fledged here, but we're still kind of hanging on to what we started with. So it is that good, like what did I say earlier? Melting pot, you
yeah.
know. So I will give it that. I like my king though, bro.
Yeah, King's good. I oh man, yeah. I think we're just in different eras of the band, you know?
Yeah,
Like this was what captured me about them initially. And so I think that's why I'm so kind of still stuck on that era is because it's so rare that I hear a band in general, but like see a band live that just completely knocks me off my freaking feet, you know?
right.
And so I think that's why these albums have that lasting impression on me.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, I didn't say at the beginning. I don't hate Fleshgod Apocalypse. It's you know me, it's not my cup of tea, the style that they are. I do like the symphonic side of it for sure, and the orchestral, and everything like that. But
yeah,
it's just not really my cup of tea. So even like when I
just
say
a little too heavy for you. It's all right.
it's just a little too much, it's a little too much. A little too many blast beats for me,
Okay.
want to be surprised by the blast beats. Not turn to the next song and be like, oh, more blast beats. Okay. Although I will say, and I'm going to talk about it when we get to King, there is a nice little combination of some blast beats and your symphonic, orchestral stuff going on there. But anyway, and I'll mention it when we get there. But I lost my train of thought.
You don't hate Fleshgod, but
I don't hate, yeah, but it's I'm not sitting there going, yeah, you know what I feel like today? A nice old cup of Fleshgod Apocalypse.
okay. See, I would totally start the morning with Fleshgod. Like,
Yeah, and I know, and that's right up your alley.
I mean, I'm sure you could see me driving to work just rocking agony, you know?
Yeah, you and your car going. You- okay, honestly, you've done that before, haven't you?
What?
In your car by yourself listening to Fleshgod Apocalypse and start acting like you're a maestro.
Oh, for sure.
Nice. Very nice. Bring it up a
Oh,
little
yeah.
more. A little more.
Everybody wants to be a maestro, bro. I definitely want to
Oh,
be a maestro.
at one point in our
Oh, if
life,
I
we have
could,
all done impressions.
if I could conduct a Fleshgod Apocalypse concert, that would be insane. Like
Oh,
one of the
man.
ones they do with like a full orchestra, that
Right.
would be intense.
You should have majored in music. Go back and you can like teach high school band and then like, oh, this is a concert. We're gonna do all Fleshgod Apocalypse songs. So enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Just this face through the whole thing.
Like, honey, I'm scared. You should be.
We should
Anyway.
pull Jimmy out of this school.
Right. And it's a private Catholic school, so
Oh,
even
man.
better. Even better, man. Um, okay, so I think what I was kind of leaning towards was even though I say King is my favorite, it's not really like, oh my God, it's so good, but it just something about when I turned it on, it just kind of grabbed me a little more. But anyway,
I do
Agony is still a good
remember
one though.
I do remember when it came out, like finding out that it dropped, getting it, and being like, okay, like definitely wasn't disappointed with it.
Is there
And they've
any
never,
release by Fleshgod that you've been disappointed though?
I mean, Labyrinth is the only one that I kind of feel like they stalled a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Labyrinth just did not grab me the way all the others do.
Right. Okay. Cool. Cool beans. You got anything else for Agony, Josh?
No, that's my entry point. I'll say it now. That's my entry point is
I think
Agony.
I think that's a good spot to start for sure. The band would head over stateside in North America to be part of the 2011 Summer Slaughter Tour with Whitechapel and the Black Dahlia Murder, and finished out the year touring the US with Decapitated. Spreading their brand into new places, the band would tour South Africa in March of 2012 while being supported by local metal acts. The rest of the year and into the next would be spent in between touring, writing, and recording material for their next album, 2013's Labyrinth from Nuclear Blast Records. One thing I will say real quick before we get into Labyrinth a little bit is, especially early on, they keep a steady like 2 year gap besides the EP one, but you go 2009 Oracles, then you go 11 Agony, then you go 13 Labyrinth. You kick it up to 3 years with King and then 3 years with Valeno. I think they're working on a new one right now. But I will give them props that they do stay on a steady beat of, writing music and putting out albums for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, 2013's Labyrinth. Once again produced by Stefano Morabito. This features future member Veronica Borracini performing operatic vocals. I was going to ask you because there's been several female vocals on the previous albums. Do you think that's her or not?
Hard to say.
Okay. I mean, they're very few and far between. So it's like you're
Yeah.
not getting a big sample of that or whatever. But
Yeah, could be.
labeled as a concept album based upon the labyrinth of Gnosis and the characters related to the associated myth. On the storyline of the album, guitarist slash vocalist Tommaso Riccardi said, quote, "We focused on the philological aspect in order to represent all the elements of the classical world. And through a manic and meticulous research, we managed to create a metaphor with our times, as the maze can be associated with the endless search for what we really are." A review from metalsucks.net described the album as, quote, "exhausting." Not in a bad way. Italian metal giants Fleshgod Apocalypse just pack a lot into their symphonic metal, like symphonic elements to start: operatic vocals, grunted narration, pianos, sound effects, reams of guitar solos, an album-length story full of minotaurs and myth. Perhaps an actual minotaur. Who knows? It's all good. As someone who discovered Alice Cooper late, grew up on Savantage gutter ballet, and still thinks Cradle of Filth should have just right up and quit on a high note with the wildly ambitious Damnation and a Day. I'm all good with bands that think more is more. Labyrinth, the band's third full length, is based off the myth of the Labyrinth of Gnosis, and sadly, not the 80s Muppety fantasy flick starring a vamping David Bowie and an irritating Jennifer Connelly. It's all apparently a metaphor, according to the band.
It really seemed like he wanted to bang teenage Jennifer Connelly. I'm just saying. When you go back and watch that movie,
Who, this reviewer, David Bowie?
really creepy. David Bowie.
Okay. Was she a teenager at that time?
Yes.
Or did she just play a teenager?
No, I'm pretty sure she was.
The most Flesh God thing they've ever thought, with the most Flesh God riffs, lyrics, melodies, drum parts, solos, etc. Does it matter? In 11 tracks of the same build, it all blends together. A mishmash of speed, metal tropes, exaggerated vocals, fine on the lower end, squeaky on the clean side, and unnecessarily Mustaney on Towards the Sun. They could be singing about bacon. It'd still be epic / delicious. But yes, symphonic. And the Wagnerian parts, they work quite well. The intro to War Pledge nearly urged me toward invading Poland. Oh my God. And Under Black Sails, good Lord, would make a fine new Imperial March. As for the pianos, the sparse instrumental's title track is rather pretty, which makes its outlier status on the album all the more ominous. If Fleshgod Apocalypse doesn't quite bring it all together in the end, no worries. Labyrinth is an album of big gestures, high notes, and epic tales. Play it loud enough, and you'll forget about sweating the little details. Some good advice. Songs on this album include Kingborn, Minotaur, The Wrath of Poseidon, Elegy Towards the Sun, War Pledge, Pathfinder, The Fall of Astrion, Prologue, Epilogue, Under Black Sails, and the finale, Labyrinth. Who would have thunk it? All righty, Josh. So you feel this is their dip, huh?
Just, this is the one that doesn't grab me as much as the others do.
Okay.
It's hard to go from Agony, which I feel like is their high point, to, like, how do you follow that up? It's
Right.
Kill Caustic, like what do you do? Like, how do you continue that upward trend, And I think we found that a lot of bands, like, even though they might continue to make good albums after what we would say their high point is,
Right.
a lot of them still kind of tend to fall, a little bit on that album right behind that. And that's not to say there's not, more good to come, because we still get King. And this is arguably still a good album. But it's just, how do you go from you know, how do you
It's
go from the
tough, man. I mean,
sun to a dim lamp?
right. Yeah, and we've talked about it before with, following good albums. Yeah, you get under the microscope a lot more for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I would
shout out
like,
to real quick, shout out to Pathfinder and that little nice orchestral ending there. It's almost kind of like a nervous like rise, like it's like oh
yep,
jeez.
they make you feel,
They know how to do it,
yeah,
bro. They know how
they
to do
make
it.
you feel the story that they're trying to put out there.
For sure, yes. Well, and you even talked about it in Kingborn of just like the sound effect of like the guy walking, I guess, like into the maze, basically, or the
Yeah.
labyrinth or whatever. And then it's just like it just kind of builds and builds and builds and builds with the music and everything.
Yep.
So, but carry on, Josh.
I would like to give this album another listen all the way through. Because it's been probably a few years since I've listened to this one all the way. So yeah, I'd like to give it another listen and kind of see if it, stands up any better, but it feels like it falls off a little bit after Minotaur and it just never really gets back up to that level again.
Yeah, numbers wise, for sure. You go 800,000 on Spotify, you go 800,000 Kingborn, 2 million on Minotaur, 800,000 on Elegy, and then, yeah, you start dipping back down to four and fives, and it stays there until Epilogue comes back up almost to a million. But yeah, it's like you said, it seemed like a lot of people peaked at Minotaur and then just kind of fell off. But
Yeah, I that's kind of the reason I want to give it another shot too, is I just want to see if maybe there's something about this one that I haven't. Yeah, maybe there's something I missed that would have put this one up a little bit higher, but
right. One thing that I do like that, and again, I'll speak about it more when we get to King, but it starts to rear its head a little bit, dude. I I, I love I love when a band can put some faint background choir vocals into some
oh
songs.
yeah,
I love that. It again it lends to the cinematic um feature to this band. But
for sure.
yeah. Bo to the show. All right, Josh, we're not even going to waste any time, man. Forget this in between stuff. We're jumping 3 years right ahead, straight into 2016's King.
King,
King. All hail. What did I say? Shut up, you servant.
shut up, you servant.
Produced. Now here's an interesting thing. The first three full-length albums plus the EP, we've gone with the same producer, right?
Yep.
So now we're switching up producers. We got a new producer here, Jens Bogren. So just kind of remember that as we're talking about the music and such. This is the last album for vocalist slash guitarist Tommaso Riccardi. And once again, Josh, this album peaked at number 27 on the Billboard charts, coming straight at you from Italy. It's Fleshgod Apocalypse. On the concept of the album, vocalist slash guitarist Tommaso Riccardi stated, quote, "The king in this album represents the brave part of ourselves, the one we should cultivate to become strong and rise again from this dark age. He's the only positive figure of this story, a man who has integrity and love for the values and truth that we all should hope for ourselves. All the other characters in the court represent the fears that can lead us to make everything worse. They try to affect the king's decisions for their own advantage and hope for a loss of power, regardless of the suffering they're going to create for their own world and people. As we already said when we presented King to our fans, we should all hail the king who lives inside every one of us." Fun fact for you, Josh. Due to the high cost of using a live symphonic orchestra, the band would make the orchestra sounds for the album, producing it through a software instrument. Bum, bum, bum. But
I mean,
hey,
that's
let me
some
tell you
massive
something.
production, dude. Like to
It
be,
still sounds great, bro.
yeah, like that would get
Yeah.
expensive.
Well, I mean, again, all I can picture is Dewey Cox in the recording studio with all those all those random people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A review on the album from metalsucks.com stated, quote, King, the Italian band's fourth album, is supposedly a concept album about the fear-based corruption of human beings and its subsequent effects on global society, which means you'll have to put up with occasional spoken word bits, which strike me as either unnecessary narration or a lousy TED Talk. Like this nugget. Don't let the illusion of perfection seduce you, or you will be lost forever, as told during the otherwise furious Cold as Perfection. So there are serious moments on King when the album strays from what it does well, sweeping metal anthems that could Braveheart inspire the troops, A, to the men. To dive a bit into atmosphere or tracks that just serve to break up the Sturm und Drang, sure, the title track works as a solid piano solo, and the operatic vocals in the Schubert inspired Paramore are pretty, but why? No. With Fleshgod, we live for the powerful moments. When the band's epic nature collides with its heavy side, see the dramatic healing through war, the Elfman playfulness juxtapose over the start-stop thrash of The Fool, the absolute cacophony of Mitra. On the latter, the band comes across less like a rediscovered Savantage and more like a soundtrack to a demon army. And that's the apocalypse you want. Songs on this album include March Royale, In Eternum, Healing Through War, The Fool, Cold as Perfection, Mitra, Paramore, not even gonna try, and The Vulture Beholds, Gravity, A Million Deaths, Syphilis, King as the finale. Okay, so go.
Why syphilis?
What do you mean?
Why call a song syphilis?
I don't know, but it's funny. Syphilis. Why not? Hey, here's one for you. Why call an album voyeurist that has nothing to do with the definition of it under oath?
That's true.
So, yeah, touche. Amore. Anyway, to bounce off the note that I saw in the last album on Labyrinth about the choir vocals. Okay, so Paramore, I feel like it's a track for what is her name? Veronica Bordacini. That really it's really for her to show off her pipes, her operatic style. And it's a good one. I mean, it's a little bit of a lull, but I remember listening to it for the first time, and then once she ends it, and it goes right into those blast beats with the choir and the orchestra on And the Vulture Beholds. I was just like, oh God, oh, this is so good. What the heck? I was just like, it really got me going good. I was like, oh, this is sick. They found that nice combo of like I said, the blast beats and the choir going in the background with it. That's just sick, man. Um, I do like the intro with the kind of the marching on March Royale. And then of course the lyrics at the beginning of In Eternum that we did. Shut up, you fool. Are you listening to And the Vulture?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
was listening to the
that's
transition from Paramore
yeah,
to, yeah.
that's sick, isn't it, man? Of
It's pretty good.
course, and then she kind of does that thing too. Makes me think of was it As Tyrants Fall you were talking about earlier with the on Oracles, where it kind of does the what'd you say? What'd you call it? Remember what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
On Oracles. It does that. It's that little kind of orchestral piano part, but it's kind of like a change up. It's like da 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 da.
Oh,
Yeah.
like an overture.
Yeah, there you go. Overture. That part where it's like I mean, she's getting really emotional with it. And it's very, kind of straightforward. But then it's like you get to that last few seconds, it's like da 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 da. It's like what
Yeah,
the
it's like
heck? And then
"Boop,
right,
boop, boop, boop." Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then it goes right to no 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 no. It's like what the
No, I love it.
oh. Which
Is
and that's the other thing too on the way that they do the choir vocals on and the Vulture Beholds. All I can ever think of is on American Dad. Stelios, Stelios, and Louise,
oh my
Stelios.
God.
It's like, oh man. Uh,
Is and Vulture Beholds, is that your favorite song on the album?
yeah, I think so, man. I think so. I'll tell you which one's not, and it's syphilis, just because
Syphilis?
of the name. But I do like saying, "No, you have syphilis."
I think mine is Gravity.
Gravity, that's a good one too, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of like an interesting like beat to it. It's kind of like it's a little bit different, it feels like. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
Gravity, once it actually like gets going,
Yeah.
it has a different kind
It's
of
got it,
rhythm to it.
right. I'm about to say it's not as fast as most of their stuff. I mean, they're still going like, especially with like the double bass, he's still going hard on it, but it's got like a different kind of like kind of a steadier gallop to it,
Yep.
right? Um, that album artwork too got me. And like I said, I didn't really even notice that he's got the puppet strings attached to him until looking at it a couple of times later, that
Yeah.
makes it even better. And it looks like a real painting. I wondered if it actually was or not. But
Hmm.
uh, what about you, Josh? We think of King.
I like
Do
King.
you love your King?
When it came out, I definitely wasn't disappointed.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, we've gone full theatrics here, which I'm okay with. But yeah, I mean, my favorite era of Flesh God is just always going to be Agony.
right,
So, and I think we've gotten away from that style 100%, being all about, that's what we're doing.
right.
So, and that's fine. Like, I'm okay with the direction that this is going. I'll still continue to listen to them. If they put out another album, I'll listen to it. But yeah, it's just different. Um, and it's almost harder to have those like kind of mixed feelings about an album. It's easier whenever a band puts out stuff later that's, where they're changing their sound that just sounds like garbage, because then you can just write it off and be like,
Garbage.
well, fuck them. That was a bad mistake. But uh when it's just a
Hey,
slight change that still works, it's more of a confusing feeling about it. I
right. You kind
like
of
it.
like
It's just
I
not,
don't like it, but
yeah,
you
it's just
don't want to like it.
not everything that I loved about Flesh God from before.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. 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 Compared to the last release, though, what do you think?
I do
Did it
think it's
take did
better
it
than,
did it take a step back up though?
yeah, I think it's more consistent throughout than Labyrinth is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would. Alrighty. Well, that's 2016's King. All hail.
Do you listen to the
Shut up, you
orchestral
servant.
versions?
Over a year and a half.
I'm not a
uh,
servant.
you're right. You're the fool.
Aw.
Uh, um, did I listen to the orchestra? Not yet. I'm interested to though. Have you?
Yeah,
You like
yeah, they're
them?
really good. Yeah. No, I think that's
Nice.
like an epic feature of these. I
Yeah.
also like an
Yeah.
album that you get that just has instrumentals of every song, like on the back half of the album. I always think those are really cool.
My feeling though is like I start to if I've heard the lyrics though, it's hard not to hear it on just the instrumental. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
And
it
it feels
makes it a
weird to
lot
me.
easier to just hone in
For
on the
sure.
different
Yeah.
musical elements, you
For
know?
sure. Yeah.
Because you almost hear things in a way that you didn't before.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Over a year and a half after the release of King. What the heck? Over a year and a half after the release of King, frontman, I have no clue why I put the word time in there. But anyway, frontman Tommaso Riccardi would leave the band. In need of a lead vocalist, drummer, original vocalist, and founding member of the band, Francesco Paoli, Francesco would step back into the lead role. Needing to replace the guitarist void left by Riccardi in the now vacant drum spot, the band would turn to session musicians Fabio Bartoletti on guitar from Deceptionist and David Fulcidi on drums. Now, eventually, Bartoletti would join the band full time on guitar. The next 2 years, the band would continue touring and begin to work on their next album, 2019's Baleno from Nuclear Blast Records. Once again, we're getting a new producer. Produced by Jacob Hansen. This album was named by Loudwire as one of the 50 best metal albums of 2019, while Metal Hammer ranked it as number 11 in their 2021 list of the 25 best symphonic metal albums of all time. Robert Garland of SputnikMusic.com wrote in his review of the latest album, quote, often criticized for doing too much with too much. Fleshgod have always had an eye for cinematic chaos. The headway made on their debut, Oracles, was steeped in the potential for a band that could actually combine the ferocity and technical semblance of death metal with the grace and grandiosity of operatic vocals and classical composition, while both Labyrinth and King dial everything with intensity up to 14 out of 10, just so you know, crushing the listener sonically with little room to breathe under the suffocating, multifaceted beast that calls itself Fleshgod Apocalypse. Despite this, Valeno sees Fleshgod Apocalypse mature into their fifth full length, seeing a natural easement of sound while standing true to an essence of opposites attracting. The now organic feeling Valeno presents only grows with repeated listens. Francesco Farini's orchestral accompaniments are no longer fighting for the limelight, now complementing the outpouring of gravitational brutality, proving that there is a better balance of sound than the band's former records. This allows the portrait to become lush, vivid, and focused without forcing the listener to separate, exact, and dissect in order to enjoy Fleshgod for the band they're trying to be. We're also not getting bludgeoned to death with Veronica Bordacini's stunning soprano vocal dexterity, which only adds to the level-headedness of Valeno's design. There's no doubt that Miss Veronica has immense talent, but like Labyrinth and King have shown us before, there can often be too much of a good thing. When the sum of all Fleshgod Apocalypse's parts are considered together on their 2019 effort, the wholesome dexterity offered with simplicity and maturity offer an album both enjoyable and altogether easier to digest than the band's catalog. There may be a slight step down here in terms of pure layered technicalities, but it comes with a moderate improvement of overall quality. If this album is poison, I'll take another carafe. Delicious. Songs on this album include Fury, Carnivorous Lamb, Sugar, The Praying Mantis Strategy, Mona Lisa, Worship and Forget, Absinthe, Pissing on the Score, The Day Will Be Gone, Embrace the Oblivion, and what? A title track, Valeno. What did you think, Josh, of their newest album, 2019, Valeno? Huh?
This is
What?
another one that I'm gonna have to do like
Or
another,
re-listen?
yeah, because there's like a lot of elements of it that I like, but there's also several songs I've gone through that I'm kind of like, eh. It kind of makes me wonder if this is like losing its fire a little bit. Because like, I don't know, there's a couple of tracks on here that feel repetitive, like
Okay.
of stuff they've already done, you know?
Okay.
I know he's trying to find like new ways to make this more interesting and kind of
Yeah.
keep it fresh, but
Do you
I
feel
don't
that?
know how far that can go.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you feel like, man, I mean, without really changing too much, I mean, how far can you really go with this style, this gimmick, I guess you could say, or whatever, you know? Because I
I
feel like, yeah, at a
mean,
certain point, you're probably going to start repeating yourself, you
like,
know?
30 plus years if you do what Cradle of Filth does, but
True.
like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how long that is sustainable. They got a low fan base, only 162,000 monthly listeners. Um, I mean, within these kind of genres, people are pretty loyal,
Right.
so they'll probably still have the support. But like I said, I'd have to do this one again and just do it all the way through and kind of see how that works for me. Right now, I'm just kind of in the middle on it.
Okay.
What'd you think?
It felt like it got darker, and it may be more of just like looking at that album artwork.
Yeah, the album artwork's dark as hell.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, going back to the original vocalist and his low guttural, you know, doesn't help because that
Yeah.
makes it pretty dark too. Um, oh my gosh, I still can't get over that whisper at the beginning of Carnivorous Lamb, like you're
Oh, I
talking
love it.
about. Oh God, it's creepy. It's creepy, man. Yeah, I think I'm with you though. It's like I need to go back through and listen to this one again because I just couldn't really get a grasp on it the first time through. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think they put out a new single here recently, and I think they're working on a new album. So it'll be interesting to see. Boy, I mean, if you're feeling on the first run on this one that there's maybe starting to kind of hit a wall, it's like, oh boy, would hate to hear what the next one would sound like if it's just gonna be a repeat, basically, you know?
Yeah. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like they're playing with some big concepts in this album, and right now, I cannot really tell if they're achieving what they're going for or if it's just kind of too much.
Right.
There's parts
Too
of this that
much.
sound like just too much. Embrace the
Right.
Oblivion, too much. Less is more
Sometimes less is more, buddy.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to go back through and listen to this one again. Then we're just gonna have to see what happens here in the future.
Yeah.
So, but in support of their newest album, the band would tour North America with the band Hypocrisy, being accompanied by a string quartet. Ooh, nice. Maestroed by Josh. At the beginning of
I'll be
2020, the
there.
band, I'll be there. At the beginning of 2020, the band would find a permanent drummer in Vital Remains drummer Eugene Rybachenko. Like all other bands across the world, Fleshgod was preparing to tour again in the US, this time with the Agonist when COVID-19 would
Oh,
hit.
wah,
Oh
wah, wah.
no!
Oh, that darn
Causing
COVID. That darn COVID.
causing the band to cancel the tour. In the meantime, much like other bands opted to do, Fleshgod would take to YouTube to host Q&As with fans as well as live streaming performances. At the end of 2020, the band would release a new EP entitled No, which featured 2 songs, No, the normal, and then the orchestral version, and The Day Will Be Gone, which is from their previous album, which is 2 versions, an acoustic and then an acoustic instrumental. Cash grab?
Cash grab?
I think so.
Could be, could be.
Could be, could be. And now, Josh, the moment we've all been waiting for. The following, let's see. Oh no, they would follow up that EP release, Josh, the next month in January of 2021 with a cover of one of Josh's favorite classic songs, Eiffel
All time.
65's Blue Dabba Dee.
All time.
Dabba Da. All time? Where does it land on your all-time
Blue
list?
Dabba Dee Gabagool.
Yeah, where does it land on your all-time list?
Oh god.
If you had
dude,
to guess, I mean, you don't have to like concrete, but like if you had to guess.
I mean, I don't know. It's up
Soul
there.
searching, man.
It's up
Top
there.
10?
I told you it was my most requested roller rink song, so
Oh man. Boy, there's a
it's
question to
special.
ask on a first date. What's your most requested roller rink song? That'll
Blue
tell you a
Dabba
lot
Dee.
about yourself.
Next.
Next.
Next question.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Okay, later in the year of 2021, the band would be forced to go on hiatus as frontman Francesco would be injured in a mountain climbing accident, suffering several fractures, which would require surgery later on. That sucks.
That does suck.
Now fast forward while he was recovering in 2023, bassist Paulo Rossi just couldn't wait. He said, "Screw you. I'm leaving. Get the hell out, Paulo." Eventually leading
Get
the
out of
group
here.
to not replace him with an outside member, but instead frontman Francesco Paulo would slide into the bassist spot once he had fully recovered. All of a sudden, I just picture him going, "Fine, get out of here. I'll do it myself." Or now that I think of that, now I think of King of the Hill. He's like, when they bring back the coach, he's like, do the helmet test. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that." He's like, "Fine, you wuss. I'll do it. I'll put the helmet on, do the thing myself."
Oh god.
Oh man, classic. Just recently, Josh, in March, hey, that was last month of 2024, the band would release a new single entitled Pendulum, which chronicles Polly's fall while mountain climbing. I fell so hard. I broke ribs.
Finn.
Finn. I'm just guessing. I don't know if that's the lyrics or not. Okay, we kind of hinted at a little bit of the future here, Josh, but if you had to guess how many more albums do you think they really have in them with the gimmick that they've got going on?
I could see him doing a couple more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see at least a couple.
Okay.
Doesn't
We
seem
shall
like
see,
they're
Josh.
like falling apart yet. so-
No. But
Yeah.
it's like we talked about from the last one. It's kind of like I listened to it again, but there's kind of feel like maybe we might be hitting a wall here. It might be hitting
Right.
a wall.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to find out, Josh. All right, here's your current lineup. Got Francesco Pali on vocals and bass, Veronica Bordicini on clean vocals, Fabio Bartoletti on guitar and vocals, Francesco Farini on piano, orchestral arrangements, and on drums, Eugene Rybachenko. Final thoughts, Josh, on the band known as Fleshgod Apocalypse.
Definitely worth a listen. I think a lot of people too who are even like into the genre probably won't know who they are.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to fly under the radar for a lot of people. I've never mentioned them to someone. I think there's been like one person ever that I've mentioned them to that actually knew who they were.
Oh,
And that's somebody who's just like deep in the genre, you
They're
know?
in deep.
Yeah, they might have actually been at that show with me, possibly.
No, okay.
So, but yeah.
And Agony was your
Yeah, Agony is
go-to spot.
that's my entry point,
Entry
and
point,
that's
yeah.
also my favorite album. So
Okay.
yeah, this
bias
band's
here.
not going to be for everybody, but definitely give it a shot. See if it does anything for you. I didn't think it was going to do anything for me, but they totally blew me away. So
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised, like when you first told me about him, you played him, I was kind of like, this is not what I expected from him. This is not living up to the expectations. I just didn't see it from you, but
yeah,
I know. Well, all righty, Josh, let's get on out of here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Course After Hours podcast, where I sit down with my good friend and avid listener of this very podcast right here, Eric, and we talk about some of the bands me and Josh have already discussed. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons and soon to be a movie of the Red Right Hand, or the Peaky Blinders. Yeah, it's a podcast covering a podcast.
Sam
We're
Neill,
coming back.
we're coming back.
Oh, jeez. Do you bring back Sam Neill? They killed him. Maybe they'll bring back his ghost to haunt Thomas Shelby. Oh, Thomas Shelby. We also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1. Very soon to be season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon. What was that?
That's by Randy Marsh.
Oh, nice.
Season 2. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
we're almost there. We only have like
we're almost there, man.
1 or 2 more chapters till we're venturing into show territory.
And we're coming up on 2 months away from the actual first episode dropping.
Okay.
Dropping like some doo-doo out of a bird.
Do we have another Throne of the Dragon next week? Or is it the week after?
It's the week after.
Okay.
Yeah, we got one more. We got another History of the Courses next week, and then we'll have another Throne of the Dragon after that.
Throne of the Dragon.
So be on the lookout for that.
Another Throne of the Dragon episode.
Oh boy. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video. One last thing, Josh, that I wanted to say to you. Happy solar eclipse, buddy. I'm ready.
Oh, don't wear those 3D glasses out there. I don't think
Here we
that's
go.
gonna be
Look
good
at
for
it.
you.
Oh, my eyes. Alrighty, man. And until next week, we'll see you.